The 7 foods that made me fat. Okay, look it, I ate a lot of garbage food when I was 290 pounds. There's no denying that. But being the research nerd that I am now, I've gone ahead and I've analyzed foods that I used to eat a bunch of. And now I've looked back and I've said, wait a minute, this is why these foods made me so fat. And some of them don't even seem like they're that unhealthy. That's what I want to address in this video. I want to be able to teach you, hey, these foods are unhealthy because of this, and these foods will make me fat because of XYZ. You don't just need to hear it from someone random, or you don't just need to be the blind leading the blind. We need to actually analyze what's going on. So we're going to break it all down. Now, without further ado, I want to jump right in because I don't want to waste your time. All right, the first food we have to talk about, tater tots. Now, before you turn off the video and you think this is so obvious, of course tater tots are bad, let me explain why I did an analysis on it and what I actually discovered. Okay, I ate a lot of tater tots. It was one of my favorite things. I was like, oh, French fries, those are unhealthy. Tater tots, no, those are a little bit better because I'm going to bake them in the oven. Come on, not the case. Here's what's up with tater tots. Very high in different forms of starches, but combining that with fats causes a spike in what is called ASP, Acylation Stimulating Protein. Now, for those of you that are fans of my channel, then you probably hear me talk about that all the time. ASP gets spiked when you have fats in the equation along with carbohydrates. Now, what ASP does is it allows insulin to spike even higher. Now, if you know what insulin is, you know that insulin is something that stands in the way of fat loss tremendously. So when we have an extra large spike of insulin, we are stopping hormone-sensitive lipase. We are stopping fat burning from occurring and lipolysis from occurring at the intracellular level. Exactly what we don't want. We're halting fat loss. We're not just taking a food in that's going to make us gain weight. We're also getting something in our bodies that's stopping fat loss in its tracks. Now, additionally, acylation stimulating protein has been shown to elevate triglyceride synthesis, meaning it increases the amount of fat that gets stored from food consumed. Very, very dangerous stuff. Okay, now I do have to address one more thing with tater tots that a lot of people don't realize. Tater tots are already pretty high glycemic. Okay, what that means is that they have a glycemic index scale of between 80 and 90 anyway. They already have a pretty high glycemic index scale. But because it is a specific kind of starch, it has some glucose in it and some fructose. Guess what? Fructose, like the sugar that comes from fruit and high fructose corn syrup, that's also in tater tots, believe it or not, goes straight to your liver, and it gets turned into fat via a process known as de novo lipogenesis. Very bad stuff. Now, here's something really wild though. When you heat up a potato, you end up taking a starch molecule that is normally relatively low glycemic and make it extremely high glycemic because the heating process allows the amylase and the amylopectin, 2 different polysaccharides, to break apart and digest faster. The point in me saying this is that tater tots, although we know they're bad, they're an extra sneaky lethal weapon when it comes down to gaining weight. We don't want to have that in the equation. Hey, before I move on to the next one, I just want to ask you guys to please hit that red subscribe button and then also hit that bell icon. That bell icon is probably the most important part because we have new videos coming out every single day. So if you aren't hitting that bell icon, then you're not seeing the new videos that are coming out, educating you every single day. Also, after you watch this video, I put a link down below for Thrive Market. I've been able to create different grocery bundles with Thrive. So Thrive makes it so that you can get your groceries online. They're an online membership-based grocery store, but you can save some money, but you can also get things that I would recommend at the grocery store via the specific link that's down below in the description. But you want to watch this video first. I just want to give a big, huge shout out to Thrive Market for making these videos possible for us. Okay, so after the video. All right, now let's move into this next one. Those seemingly healthy, low-calorie flour tortillas. Okay, if you're watching this video and you're already on a weight loss journey, you probably know that those aren't that good for you. But I didn't know that. You see, when I was close to 300 pounds, I was eating those things because I thought they were a lower calorie, healthier alternative. Big problem. Big slap in the face there for me. When I look back now, knowing what I know, and after consulting with doctors and after consulting with experts, I realized, oh my gosh, they were so high in gluten. And you might hate me for saying this, but gluten should not be in your diet no matter who you are, celiac or not. Gluten is hard for the body to break down and it wreaks havoc. It triggers the release of a protein known as zonulin within our body. And zonulin isn't all that bad, but when it comes in concentrated forms, it triggers what is called a leaky gut, where we get inflammation in our gut, which doesn't sound all that bad. It sounds like you might get a tummy ache, but no, it's worse than that, because what happens is chunks of the gluten and chunks of material that we are trying to digest leak into the bloodstream at an earlier point in time than they should. And what that means is we have large chunks of food in our bloodstream that aren't digesting very well, and that means that our body doesn't know how to react with them. So it triggers antibodies to try to break them down. Well, guess what? Antibodies are our immune system. So we just activated our immune system, in essence, making us feel like we're sick on the inside. That triggers inflammation. And guess what? Obesity is inflammation. So yes, it stands in the way. Then when you look at the thyroid, it gets even more crazy. Okay, we have something in our body known as TGASE. We're just gonna call it T-Gase. T-Gase helps break down some of the proteins in gluten. Well, it turns out when we deaminate and break down gluten, we end up activating a different inflammatory cascade and different antibodies that also cross-react with the antibodies in our thyroid. I know that this sounds like so much, and I hope that I'm not losing you, so let me just bring it back really simple. Basically, what it means is that our immune system, in essence, decides to come after some of our thyroid. But you don't have to take my word for it. There's a really interesting study that was published in the Experimental and Clinical Endocrinology and Diabetes Journal. I know it's a mouthful. It took me a couple times to get that one right. But here's what's happening in this study. Okay, they took a look at 34 women that had autoimmune thyroid diseases. They already had issues with their thyroid, and they divided them into two groups. One group consumed gluten, and one group did not. And then they measured their antibodies to see how their body was basically cross-reacting and fighting their own thyroid. Well, guess what they found? The group that was in the gluten-free category ended up having lower levels of antibodies, meaning they had less reaction to their thyroid than the group that had gluten. The group that had gluten had the same still fighting of their thyroid going on. I rest my case. Okay, gluten is not good stuff, and it was definitely messing me up. Probably one of the reasons why my thyroid levels were so plummeted. All right, all you soda drinkers, you're gonna hate me, but I gotta be honest. Diet sodas messed me up. Look, I am human, and I will have a diet soda from time to time still. Yes, I do. Okay, a little bit of artificial sweetener, although bad, I still have it. Okay, I am human. But I used to drink like 6 to 10 Diet Cokes or Diet Pepsis a day when I was sitting in my office. I used to drink the diet sodas, I used to drink the diet, the Monster Zeros and things like that. All those things just to keep me going in the office. Well, guess what? Those artificial sweeteners will mess you up. There's a study that was published in the journal Nature that found that when you consume artificial sweeteners, it literally makes you glucose intolerant. They found this in mice and in humans. So it's not just one of these one species studies, it's cross species. Really wild stuff. They found that if they gave humans some form of artificial sweetener like diet soda in a regular amount, like just have them drink diet soda, it would make them glucose intolerant. Then they would take their gut bacteria and they'd transplant it into mice, and guess what? The mice would become glucose intolerant just by receiving the gut bacteria from those that consumed artificial sweeteners. That will mess you up. Our gut bacteria is responsible for a good portion of our metabolism. Let me say that again because not enough people truly understand this. We have trillions of those little bugs in us, and they metabolize food more so than our body itself does. So if you mess those little guys up, they can't do their job. And if they can't do their job, you're not utilizing nutrients right, and you will get fat. It happened to me, and I hate to say it, it will happen to you. So just do not rely on those artificial sweeteners. Have a diet soda now and then, be human, but just don't rely on them. Plus, not to mention, it's gonna trigger a dopamine response that's just gonna make you crave more food, and it spikes your insulin through something known as a cephalic insulin response. Save that video for something more complicated that I'll link down below in the description. All right, moving on to number 4. Number 4, creamers. But not just any creamer. I kind of wish I just used half and half or just used whole, some kind of like heavy cream or something. I used to use those creamers that were like the sugar-free or reduced calorie, different like novelty creamers, and I would put it in my coffee. 2 problems with that. The first problem is having a creamer in your coffee breaks that precious fasting period. Now, I know you might not be doing intermittent fasting, you may not, but the thing is in the morning, the second that you have calories, you stop fat burning. I really wish that I just had black coffee with a little stevia. I would have been able to burn fat for that much longer in the morning, but instead I disrupted that. Now that's not the big problem, okay, because I'm human and I want some cream in my coffee. The issue is with the hydrogenated trans fats that are in that stuff. Okay, garbage. It takes 51 days to break down the CIS bond in a trans fat. What that means is our body's metabolisms aren't designed to break down trans fats. They are there to alter the chemical makeup of a beverage so it can be more shelf stable. Okay, you're gonna find that stuff in peanut butter, you're gonna find it in creamers. But anyway, the point is, it messed me up. So get rid of that stuff. Go with the straight heavy cream and put that in your coffee instead. Just ditch it, you don't need it. Plus, there's artificial sweeteners in them, which kind of piggybacks on the last point, right? Okay, now I get to jump to the next one, which is also something, really, I thought I was making a healthy decision. I truly did. So my thought process was that if I were to have a tablespoon or two of peanut butter every couple of hours while I was sitting in my office, that it would be a healthier alternative for me because it would keep me satiated and I wouldn't go snack on cereal. Maybe that's true. Maybe we can pretend that's the case for a second. But come on, what is in your peanut butter? Okay? In your peanut butter, you have more hydrogenated fats. Okay? You also have sugar, because yes, they put sugar in it. And even, let's pretend for a second you go for like the $12 Maranatha brand or some other like crazy, ridiculously, ludicrously expensive peanut butter that no one can really afford. And let's just pretend you go for that for a second. Well, you're still looking at 200 calories and a couple tablespoons. Okay, there's no denying that that is going to get stored unless you are following a strict ketogenic diet and you're really exercising moderation. Okay. The point is that one made me very, very fat, very fast, in spite of me actually trying to lose weight. All right, the next one we got to talk about, I'm not going to even spend much time. If you're from Texas, you know what I'm talking about. Kolaches. End of story. All right, moving on to the next one. Lattes. I used to drink lattes all the time. Okay, and here's the thing, like, so crazy because lattes, you would think, oh, that's something just simple and healthy and low calorie. How do I explain this? It's so simple, and it's like, you don't think of it as a food, but here's what we have to remember with fat loss. Okay, we have fat gain and we have fat loss, two different categories, but they also bridge together. Every time you have a single calorie, you are stopping fat loss at that point in time. Every time you have a single calorie, whether it's fat, protein, or carbohydrates, you have somewhat of an insulin spike occurring, period. Now, when that happens, that shuts off fat burning. You either have insulin on or insulin off and glucagon high. So you have a nice big lunch, and you're like, I'm not gonna eat until dinner, but it's 3 o'clock, I'm gonna have a latte, maybe a decaf latte just to enjoy it. Still 100 to 200 to 300 calories, depending on what you're putting in it, that is turning off fat burning. I have so many clients that will come to me and say, can I just have a latte in the morning? And am I still gonna be fasted? No, you're definitely not fasted if you have that latte. Okay, that is a consistent energy source coming in. Okay, that is a good amount of calories. And if you're doing it with regular straight up milk, oh, come on. Now you got the sugar, now you got all this other stuff that's coming from it. At least do it with almond milk. But even then, an almond milk latte is going to trigger an insulin spike, which is going to shut down glucagon, which is going to stop fat burning. I used to drink those things all the time. And guess what? You don't just consume a latte in a 5-minute period. No, you sip on it for a half an hour. So great, so now I just not only like disrupted my fat burning, I disrupted it for 30, 40 minutes as I'm sipping on it. Man, I wish I hadn't done that. And I'm not saying that you aren't human and don't have a latte from time to time, but when you have one in mid-morning and one in mid-afternoon between your distinct meals, you're basically giving yourself no time to ever burn fat. So foods made me fat. No denying that, lots of calories. But these foods I've identified as the big culprits. This is supposed to be fun. Let yourself enjoy it. Let yourself enjoy the foods that might make you fat because you need to stop eating them. Anyhow, as always, make sure you're keeping it locked in here on my channel. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell icon, and I'll see you soon.